Aram Leighton from Just Baseball. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Very pumped, honored to be on, and excited to talk some Mariners ball.
Let's just start with the promotions yesterday. The two we've been talking about the most are Laz Montes, of course, and Michael Arroyo. And Laz is maybe in some ways among the more polarizing guys among this large prospect group that the Mariners have right now. What do you believe is the most likely outcome for Laz Montes' career?
Oh, that's a great question, right? Because when it comes to a player like this, I personally tend to find them polarizing because they have to absolutely mash to, attain their potential, right? And so you're hoping for, I think, that Kyle Schwarber type of outcome, maybe a little bit more defensive utility. You're hoping as he just 20 years old can develop a bit more in the outfield, but it is that high walk, high strikeout, but ridiculous power output that with minimal defensive value, it puts a lot of pressure on how often you're slugging. But in the game that we see today, that player is a lot more palatable and even more valuable. And when you have a guy like Montes who can hit north of 40 home runs, you get excited about that opportunity. So I think that's what you can dream on. But just knowing that, hey, the second that OPS creeps below 800, it's a very steep battle uphill to get to 2 WAR, right? Or to just provide that well above average value. So that's going to be the question. He has the ability to be that Schwarber type, but again, there's a lot of pressure to get there.
He's only 20. It's the crazy thing looking at these the ages on these guys, and I know the game has gotten younger, but I'm just looking at the 7 guys that you have for the Mariners in your top 100. Ages 19, 21, 20, 20, 19. Harry Ford, the old man, at 22, and then back to 19. I mean, this group it's not just that it's a deep farm system, it's an especially young deep group.
It's a testament to, I think, how well they have drafted, because it's not just, hey, these are good players. It's, hey, they're hitting the ground running pretty well, right? I mean, Laz Montes was turning heads at 18 years old. You have a Michael Arroyo who's just always hit, really, since getting into pro ball. A Ryan Sloan, where you draft that guy, and yeah, I know that the results have been a little bit mixed, but you just watch him pitch and you immediately see what can be there. A Colt Emerson, where it wasn't like he was a top 10 pick, but later in the first and immediately looks like a guy that could be that do-it-everything shortstop. So for them to be able to just have these solid picks that continue to translate, and then I think the development side, you're seeing it. Harry Ford hit a little bit of a snag last year. He has totally improved all of those, I think, little issues that he had last year, some of the swing and miss. I think just some of the overall aspects of his game. The defense has gotten so much better. I think you got to give the Mariners a lot of credit for that.
Do you have, is there anybody in this group that as you approach the deadline, you say, forget it. The upside is too high. I can't be on the losing side of a trade where I dealt this guy and he turned into a superstar somewhere else?
It's funny because I'll rarely, even as the prospect guy, you trade the prospects when you can, and it's going to work in your favor. We've seen that, with the Luis Castillo trade, even as an example. But I look at a Colt Emerson, and the defense has gotten so much better at shortstop, and I think that's a huge aspect of this whole thing, right? Where if he's sticking it short, take some pressure off the bat, but that bat could be special. It could accommodate a move to third. And he's starting to get hot here. He's cutting down on the ground ball rate. He's hitting the ball hard. He's still just 19. Emerson's a guy that it would take something really special with control, I think, for me to move him. That's the one guy that I look at and I say, I do not want to move him. A Johnny Farmello, I wouldn't want to unless the organization that's acquiring him values him as the player that we know he could be had he been healthy for the second half of last year and through this year. So that's a guy that I wouldn't want to sell low on, but if a team really values him, he's not going to stop you. But Emerson's that guy I've got circled with him picking it at shortstop now.
What about the opposite side? If you are looking to make deals, are there players in this organization that you like, but if you have an opportunity to sell high right now, that's probably the best outcome for you and probably the guys you're pushing towards other teams if you can?
Yeah, I think Laz Montes is a guy that's going to carry plenty of value that, you're not eager to move, but when you look at the profile and just tying back to the previous points, people talk about like Baby Jordan and stuff like that. You can see the power and how people can draw that from the left side, a big guy. But I mean, when you look at the contact rates, it's just not necessarily close there. It's a 64% overall contact rate, or 66, excuse me, for the season, which it's not going to put him in a position where he's hitting 270, 280 at the highest level, right? So I think that's a guy that you could regret it if he's hitting 40-plus home runs, but I think it's one where that odds are you're not going to fully get burned on that the way that the Dodgers did with Jordan way back. I don't think it's going to be one of those situations. And then I look at a Felny and Celestin. It's one that could age poorly because he's so young at 19 and so many things could change, but he's not defending well. I've been kind of disappointed to see that side of things back up. The impact is down this year, but the numbers are still okay, and he still has a lot of shine and excitement from what he showed last year, from being a top IFA guy, that he could be a good piece to still sell high on. That everything I'm seeing right now could be a guy that hits a bit of a snag when he gets to high A and is still trying to work through some things. So it seems like he's far off.
Yeah, it's a tough one for me because the upside on him might be even higher than Colt Emerson. Like if he puts it all together, he might have the highest upside in the organization. But obviously at 19, he's the same age as Colt. He just hasn't had the same level of play or the same experience. I mean, like it just hasn't gone the same way. But I don't know, man. That upside is so hard for me to part with him.
Yeah, and I totally understand that. And I probably would have said that last year, and that's why it's so tough and fluid. And that's how sometimes you move a guy, and it's like, oh shoot, the Guardians moved Junior Caminero, right? So like that'll happen. But I think the impact's taking a step back this year. The exit velocities being down the way that they are, it could make it a little bit more palatable. That would be one that I'm bracing for impact, though, and saying, okay, in 2-3 years, we might feel this one. But at least in this instance, he's clearly not going to be one of those guys that flies through the minor leagues where, in 2 years, you're seeing him in the upper levels, and it's like, oh, shoot, why did we do this? It's going to be a little bit more of a process. But I also think just seeing what Colt Emerson is already starting to do in high A as the same age, and the underlying data being so much stronger and the defense being so much stronger, maybe that could make him a bit more expendable. But I look at a Michael Arroyo and how well he's swinging it, but the fact that he is limited to second base, and you could say, hey, maybe that's a guy that they'd prefer to move instead and roll the dice on a Celestin who has a much higher ceiling if it all works out.
We spent some time with Passan earlier, and we're talking through potential trades for the Mariners here at the deadline. And I don't know what's going to happen with Arizona. And, they say they want to buy, but then Corbin Carroll gets hurt. And I don't know whether Naylor's fully healthy and Gino's fully healthy. But we were saying, all right, what if you were to trade for Josh Naylor and Gino Suarez? Both. You get 2 months of control. That's it. Both guys are going to be done, free agents at the end of the year. But they completely change what your lineup and what your infield looks like. What do you have to give up from this system? What's a fair deal for those two players together?
Wow. Ooh, that's a great question. Because it's tough when you bundle two high-performing rentals. Because every year when a rental's really, really playing well, we're always a little surprised at how significant the return is. And then you bundle two of them, they would probably say, hey, we'd rather move them separately unless you're going to give us a prospect that we felt like we wouldn't be able to get otherwise. And that's where I look at, is that something where you're comfortable parting with a guy that's blocked in a Harry Ford? That'd be kind of steep, right? So it's a tough juggle there. But I think that's one where I would be dangling maybe a Michael Arroyo, because again, he's good. He's destroying baseballs. He's absolutely a good hitter, but it's average second base defensive profile at best, and he's going to have to really mash as well, similar to the Lazaro Montes conversation. So I wonder if an Arroyo and a flyer would potentially be enough. It might be a little light. It's tough with two rentals, because the interesting thing with the Mariners farm system is then it feels like an overpay with some of the top guys, right? Like, even though Harry Ford is blocked at this point, with the way he's playing at a premium position with the defense getting to where it's getting, you don't want to trade a guy like him and then have nothing to show for it at the start of the 2026 season. So it's like, who are you okay with trading and knowing that the benefit of that move is gone at the start of 2026? I think I draw that line right at Michael Arroyo.
Maybe they'd like Dominic Canzone back. Who knows? We could see if you could pull something like that off. Hey, we appreciate it. Thanks for the time, Aram. We appreciate it. Thank you. And we'll try to do this again.
I would love to. Thank you so much.
All right. There you go. There's Aram Leighton from Just Baseball.